Hi, thank you for stopping by watching the video. Today I am going to be talking to you about masculinity and the lack thereof in society, which has created a ridiculous level of rampaging beta males who have seemed to take over everything in the country and that we are dealing with. Um, I want to start off by saying that nothing I'm about to say is intended to trash anybody, make fun of anybody, or belittle anybody. It's actually intended to help people who maybe are in such a position and want something more for themselves, actually want happiness. Although some of the things I'm going to say are probably going to sound somewhat harsh, but if it does sound harsh to you and you are a beta male watching this, this is a good indicator that you have a problem. So I would honestly like for you to have some help with that problem should you want it. And understanding that I've never in my life, I don't think anybody has, met a beta male who is actually happy. Um, I don't think it's really possible to be happy in life when you are living it scared and afraid and unable to take care of yourself or be independent, um, regardless of who you are. That's men and women both. So this started for me, well, a long time ago. But the reason I wanted to make this video is actually because I encountered somebody recently that told me that they wanted to immediately check out of their hotel room shortly after checking in because they were scared and uncomfortable and did not feel safe because on their way to their hotel they saw a police car and an ambulance going down the road. Now, it could be speculated that that was just an excuse to get out of it. I don't know. But the fact, I can't imagine that any self respecting man, because this was a young man that told me this, would come to another man and say that, honestly. Again, I don't say that to be mean. It's just amazing to me because it's not something that I understand from that perspective. So, again, I don't at all want to, talk shit about anybody. That's not my point here. My point is that we now live in a society where there are far too many people. I deal with them all the time. Again, men of all ages who have issues with just feeling unsafe and insecure, just in themselves, just wherever they're at. Not because there are roving bands of gang members, not because they are being attacked, not because there's any direct threat to them or their life or their property or person, because they simply live their lives feeling that way. And I find that to be very, very sad. And I can't imagine how shitty it must be to live life like that. So I honestly would like to help anybody that is interested in maybe trying to understand that and do something more for themselves in the terms of being able to find ways to increase their level of assertiveness and their level of masculinity. Um, because it is unfortunately something that again has become rampant. There's way too much of this. Part of it stems from the amount of children who grow up without masculine male role models. Part of it stems from the fact that we have an overly feminized feminist society that has taken the feminist extreme view. Now, this is not to be confused with anything about women should not make the same amount of money as a man. It has nothing to do with that. Those ideas are all great. I'm not talking about equality. I'm talking about extreme feminist views, which are flat out man hating and have, since the 70s now at least, if not earlier, permeated the society to a degree where it is now considered by too many people not healthy, not good, and a lot of people absolutely hate any outward displays of masculinity, which I can't even begin to understand, because you can't hate masculinity without hating femininity, because you need them both. One requires the other, like everything else in life. So it's really important that we understand that to begin with, because I'm not talking about a man who is, acting like a tough guy, or a man who is unafraid to show emotion, or, always trying to look or be hard, or any of that kind of nonsense that, you know, young adolescents do. Again, we are very specifically talking about the feeling of security just in yourself, just being in the world that you live in. And, you know, I'm sorry, but just having a pair of balls that you actually use because they produce testosterone and give you masculinity. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, it is a very normal, healthy thing when it exists. It's not normal and healthy for it to not exist. So there are multiple people that I encounter all the time on a very regular basis who have to ask permission from their wife to do whatever the hell it is they want to do. Now, again, this should not be confused with having a partnership with your wife or significant other, in that you discuss your plans and what you're doing, because that should absolutely be the case. If you're in a relationship, it's supposed to be a partnership and you should discuss those things. But again, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you literally have to ask permission. And if they say no, you're out of luck with whatever it is. That's not being a man. I'm sorry to anybody. Like I said, some of this may sound harsh and offensive, but the reality is men don't do that. Men don't need to ask permission from anybody to do the things that they choose to do. Man does not need to, for instance, lie and make up games and drama and bullshit nonsense in the hope that he won't offend his partner. A real man doesn't care, honestly. If somebody gets offended by the things that he does for him, because it's his life and it's his choice and he knows that, and everybody else can just take it or leave it. So you should not, nobody should have to do that. And again, that's true for women as well. So if you're in a relationship and you are somehow unable to simply be yourself, be honest, you're afraid to ask for, or you're afraid to do things or say things, whatever's on your mind, or doing what you want to do that is for you. Let's say you want to start a YouTube channel and you have to get permission because your other person may not like it. Well, it's not for them to like. It is your life and your decision. They're supposed to be there with you to support you. So if they're not going to do that, perhaps it's time to move on. So you have to understand, everybody has to understand that the typical beta male who is frightened and afraid all of the time has, you don't have to be that way. That's not, you can, if maybe you like it, but I still would argue that that is pretending. I would argue that anybody that is with you in your life does not respect you, regardless of what they say to your face. I guarantee that you do not respect yourself, because, again, it shows in the behavior. So, again, for anybody who perhaps wants help and to break out of that shell and to become a more assertive, more masculine, actually confident individual, then there are things that you can do. There are lots of resources out there. I will come back to that towards the end of the video. But again, it needs to be said, if you don't respect yourself, which, again, I've never met a beta male that does, nobody else is going to respect you. They may say it to your face, but they are thinking something else. If you are in a relationship, your woman does not respect you. Your woman is controlling you, actually. And during that time, she is probably, if she's not cheating on you with an alpha male, she will be leaving you for one, perhaps both. And again, I'm sorry, just the reality. I've seen it a number of times. And again, I'll say, this isn't to shame anybody. This is to hopefully get people to understand that if you're in that position and you have that kind of lifestyle and that personality and you want to do something about it, you can. You really can. Although I've never been myself what anybody might term as a beta, I've certainly had certain traits throughout my life, such as being overly sensitive at times and things like that that have caused me relationship problems. And the reality is that I never had good, positive, lasting relationships until I dumped those issues and showed and developed a more masculine side and attitude when it came to those specific behaviors. And most importantly, as I already suggested, I'm actually happy. That's number one. So, again, if you're happy in whatever your position is in life, if that describes you and you're actually happy with it, please comment. I'd love to see anybody that can challenge that, but expect comments in return, because, again, I've just never met one over the thousands of people that I've dealt with in my life. And there's certainly been a lot more beta males than there have been anything else when it comes to the men that I've known in my life. So, not a single one of them is happy that I've ever met. Not saying that that's not true or not possible, but I've never met one. So, but I want people to be happy, and you should want to be happy for yourself, and you should want the actual respect from people. And it can't be a nice way to live your life if you are, again, afraid and feeling insecure all the time because you saw a police car and an ambulance. Oh my, are you kidding me? Seriously, what does this guy do when he watches an action movie with a car chase in it? Does he get up and go to the bedroom and cry? Because it is just ridiculous. I'm not going to have enough time here to go into all of the psychology of what creates that in a person. There's way too many things, and the video would take 19 hours to do that. But I just want to, again, point out that the society we live in, with all the political correctness nonsense, very much helps increase and dictate that. It very much makes that a part of normal everyday life because you're not allowed to be overly masculine. It's not trendy. It's not the thing that's in right now, right? So you are expected to be what they want you to be and what they tell you to be, which of course is just another means of control. And it's a bunch of ridiculous bullshit, and you shouldn't allow it for yourself. And if you know somebody, don't allow it for them either. Again, there's a lot of great books. My book will be included in this description, and I promise that book will help you see things differently in how you approach life with your confidence, if you have a victim attitude, all of these things, and how you can develop the kind of you that is one that is conducive to positive relationships and happiness and a healthy life and a healthy mindset. Um, Again, this applies to all different types of men. You don't have to be a jock. You don't have to be a tough guy or a badass. You don't have to be, anything other than what you are. Other than, again, if you are unhappy, then there are things that you can do in ways that can be changed. So, any women out there who are with beta males, I'm not even going to go into that in great detail, but for the most part, most of them that I have met, seen, known, dealt with, even tried to date, never works out because if they're dating an alpha, it's not going to work, period. Because they're looking to control you. And if that describes you, then you are probably about lower than possibly a prostitute, I think, in my opinion. Um, at least the prostitute is honest about the setup and situation. So, if that's the kind of person you are and you're taking advantage of the men in your life and trying to control them in that way, then yeah, I'll take the prostitute over you any day. So, again, at least they're honest about what the situation is. So, you know, be aware that there are, granted, I realize it's fantasy, but when you watch movies, read books, TV shows, whatever, there are no beta male sex symbols. They don't exist. I've never seen one ever. There's no such thing because nobody finds them sexy. There's nothing sexy about it. And maybe you're not trying to be sexy. Maybe you don't care about being sexy, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But I'm using the word sexy, of course, as kind of an alternative to being confident and self secure and happy. So, even if you look at perhaps the biggest pretty boy sex symbol ever, Brad Pitt, and doesn't necessarily look like the most masculine guy on the planet, but the fact is that look at one of his earlier roles from, God, when I was in my early 20s, I think, Legends of the Fall, and that pretty boy was fighting grizzly bears with his goddamn bare hands and beating the shit out of bartenders that wouldn't give his Indian friend a beer. There's no lack of masculinity. There's also no, granted, not he showed emotion too. It's a great character. I recommend the movie Legends of the Fall. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why, but um, and he's not by any stretch of any imagination some big built buff tough guy or anything like that, but that level of confidence and attitude is what we're talking about. By the way, I apologize for the lighting. I'm using natural lighting here, so it just went a little bit weird out of nowhere. So, because I think the sun's going down. So, um, anyways, Brad Pitt, Legends of the Fall. Enjoy it, watch it. It's great. Um, what defines somebody as being an alpha male or a real man, whatever you want to call it? It's all the same thing. Being not beta. The bottom line is that, along with that confidence, and because of that confidence, real men get shit done. Real men are, again, confident. They're self reliant. They can support themselves and do. Not just they can but refuse to. They support themselves. But most importantly, they take responsibility for their actions and their words. And again, they don't need to apologize for simply being who they are or liking what they like or wanting what they want. They are simply them and they are happy being them without trying to please others. And the pleasing of others from that just comes naturally. There's nothing more you need to do except be your true self without being timid and afraid. Because, again, nobody, including you, if that describes you, is going to find that in any way appealing. I'm sorry. Again, they may say something different to your face, but the reality is going to be something else. And I would venture to bet that any of you in that position knows that deep down if you really examine the people in your life and how they treat you and little signals that you pick up. If you're not in denial, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So, real men don't need to lie. Real men don't need to cheat on their spouse because they will simply tell you that they are interested in somebody else. They have no need to play games and all of these little girly bullshit things that people do in order, again, to please other people and to not have any kind of conflict, which is the whole damn point. If you're afraid of conflict, again, all of this applies to you. So that's a very, very big indicator. If you're offended by anything that I'm saying here, that's a very big indicator that all of these things apply to you and you might want to think about helping yourself. So recently, to kind of finish my idea off here, recently there was a story about a young lady, maybe 17 or 18 years old, a beautiful young cheerleader, posting nothing graphic or nude or anything like that, but just posting fun videos on TikTok, ended up with a stalker who came to her house. I believe they lived in Florida. Came to her house at like 4:30 in the morning with a shotgun and tried to shoot through their front door. So the after he began running down the street because he's also a beta male little bitch, um, the dad, who is quite the opposite of that, got his own gun, went downstairs, and shot that person dead. And so I want to say good job and thank you to the father. That's how a real man takes care of shit. You don't sit there and whine and run and hide under the goddamn bed. You be ready for anything. And if you're not now, again, you can get ready. There are things you can do. You don't have to sit there and be a bitch all the time. You can do things to improve yourself and your life and your knowledge and your abilities. And that's really all we're talking about here. And all of those things will go towards your confidence levels, which will, again, quite simply, make you happy in life. It will make your relationships better, as I had already mentioned. Um, so, once again, the link to my book will be here in the description, of course. So please check that out if you're interested in following up a lot these ideas and a lot more. It's a very complex book, so but it really will help in so many of these ideas, I promise. Um, because again, I really would like to see masculinity not being treated like it's a goddamn disease anymore and like it's something that people should fear like this stupid fucking coronavirus. It's ridiculous and nonsense and it needs to stop. Um, we need masculinity. We need more of it. This should also not be confused, by the way, with perceived masculinity of some sociopathic moron like Donald Trump who, puts on a front of confidence and all of that. It's not the same thing. Don't be confused by that. Don't be confused by, again, tough guy freaking idiots that are attempting to put on a front, but that's all to hide the fact that they're really scared underneath. Same thing with players that want to exploit and be womenizers. Those are all betas in disguise. That's all they are. That's not real confidence. You only get that real confidence from truly and honestly being the person that you are without shame or fear. And all of us as men have that in us, that we have that ability. And it doesn't matter what your sexuality or your preference or any of those things are. If you are a man, I know plenty of gay men. I have lots of gay men friends who are perfectly masculine. You never even know that they were gay unless and until they told you. Has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with being honestly masculine, being yourself, like I said, and again, doing so without shame or fear, just being who you truly are and not being afraid to ask for what you want, to go out and get what you want, to sometimes, when it's appropriate, to take what you want with permission from the person you might be trying to take it from, of course. You know what I mean? So, I think at the moment that's about all I have on this subject. Otherwise, I could keep rambling about the psychology behind what creates both alphas and betas. Again, it would take many, many hours. So please join me next time in the next video, and we will discuss why it is that aliens never seem to abduct gay men. Is it a conspiracy or not? Let's find out. So thank you. Please be responsible. Be responsible for yourself and for your actions always. Please think for yourself and question everything. Don't let them push you around and tell you how to live. It's your life, so you live it the way you want, not the way anybody else tells you, including me. If you really love being a beta male and having other people control you and that's your thing, and you get off on it, hey, knock yourself out. I've got nothing to say about that if that's the case, if you are truly happy. But I'm guessing if that describes you, you're not, like I said. Again, please join me next time. Don't forget, link in the description below, and please feel free to comment, let me know how much you hated this, and let me know any other video ideas for subjects that you might like to see in the future. And until next time, thank you very much.